Wherever you are, light it up, and I'll find you.
It's your perfect day. Goodbye.
The image of Jinx lighting the flare was instantly cemented into the minds of the people who watched this scene. Everything about this scene is perfect. The framing, the cuts, the emotional through line, the symbolism. It's difficult to know where to start. Well, not that difficult. Let's look at the framing of the very first scene. This scene starts with a cut from black into Jinx's face upside down. The framing here is excellently done. When you look at this image, think about the emotion you feel. It's not safety or kindness. It's a sense of uneasiness. Something's off, a screw is loose, and the camera angle reflects that. Jinx being portrayed as upside down and off-center gives off the feeling of uneasiness. It gives off the idea that something about Jinx is askew, much like the camera angle. Then, the focus shifts from Jinx to the flare that Vi gave her. Jinx remembers Vi's words to her, and then the camera angle immediately changes. Take notice of this. Powder, which is what I'm going to call her for the rest of this scene, is no longer upside down. Instead, she faces the camera, head on, literally standing up for herself, becoming a beacon for her sister. The camera isn't askew, it isn't afraid to show Powder as a whole rather than just focusing on Jinx's face. The shift in camera angle is representative of a shift in Powder's mentality. Powder throws away everything that Jinx is and embraces her vulnerability, and despite that, stands for herself. Accompanying this is a shot that pans out. A lot of the landscape shots used in Arcane give off a sense of insignificance. This scene does the exact opposite. Powder and her flare are center frame for the entire shot. The blue smoke of the flare contrasts against the dark green of Zaun. As the camera zooms out, we zoom out from Powder and focus on what she represents for her sister. Powder here is literally a beacon for her sister. She stands up for herself and her sister, not as Jinx, but as Powder. The lyrical timing of the music is perfect as well. Listen to the lyrics as Powder lights the flare.
It's your perfect day. Goodbye. Because you're
As Powder kisses everything that Jinx is goodbye, she sets everything she understands on fire. She steps into the unknown. She doesn't know if her sister will come and find her, but nevertheless still has hope as she lights the fuse and becomes a beacon. Compare Powder's face here to all the other shots where Jinx is clearly present. This is not the face of Jinx, it is the face of Powder. It is the face of a Powder who has grown and learned to stand up for herself, and by doing so, become the light that brings Vi back to her. It's important to understand that this turning point is not just the event that leads to the reunion of Vi and Powder. It's also the event that Powder realizes that she can reject Jinx and still stand strong as herself. This idea is further solidified in the viewer's minds when the camera pans around to both Milo and Clagger, standing behind Powder. These representations of Milo and Clagger aren't like the dolls that Jinx made. These are true-to-life and real representations of Powder's childhood friends. They aren't false bastardizations devoid of emotion like Jinx's dolls. These are real, or at least as real as memories can get. Powder, standing alongside Milo and Clagger, demonstrates the idea that Powder finally can stand alongside her trauma. Earlier in Act 2, Jinx tried to confront and fight her trauma by visiting her old playground, but if you remember, in that scene, Jinx was unable to reach the highest score. At that moment, when she failed to beat the highest score, she failed in a fight against her trauma. But Powder, in this scene, where she stands alongside Milo and Clagger, is finally able to stand with her trauma, to stand with her past, and to stand with her mistakes, and even with the weight of all of that, she is able to become a beacon of light for her sister. Not only does this scene mark the beginning of Vi and Powder's reunion, not only does this scene represent the point at which Powder learns that she can reject Jinx, not only does this scene depict that Powder can be strong on her own, so too does this scene show that Powder is finally able to stand with her past and forgive herself for it. Let's cut away from Powder for a little bit and focus on the other characters in this scene. As soon as we cut away from Powder, we get the perspectives of both Silco and Vi. Both are struggling to get up. Silco is completely alone. He's angry and full of rage. Now look at Vi. She's determined, and she's not alone. She has Caitlyn helping her. Though only 5 seconds long, this visual foil between Silco and Vi demonstrates the relationship that they share with Powder. Silco wants to use Powder to achieve his own goals, whereas Vi cares for Powder, loves her unconditionally, no matter what she has become. In striving for power, Silco loses everything and ends up angry and alone. In striving for her sister, regardless of what she has become, Vi is lifted from the ground, granted help by someone from Piltover. In this 5-second sequence, a theme arises. Those who abuse others for power will end up alone and angry, while those who fight for those they love have the capacity to mend even the most broken relationships, be it between siblings or cities. The relationship between Powder and Vi is pushed further as the foreground focuses on the wall with Violet and Powder's names on them. It's important to notice here that the names are Violet and Powder. Jinx is completely absent from this scene. However, as a flash of lightning illuminates the background, we switch our focus from the names on the wall to the man in the background. While this scene reaffirms the idea that Powder is still in there, and that Vi and Powder have a bond that not even the destruction of their own home can break, Silco lurks in the background. As Powder breaks free of Jinx, even if it's just for a moment, we, the viewers, get the image in our mind that Silco is still ever present in the background of their relationship. Let's take a look at this scene, where Vi and Caitlyn slide down a pipe as the camera shifts between them and the loading of a gun. Vi and Caitlyn are portrayed here as bullets down the barrel of a gun. To understand this metaphor, we must understand the political structure and social hierarchy of Piltover. Piltover calls itself the City of Progress, but it actually does not care for progress at all. The Council are all businessmen and women who decide what passes based not on progress, but on profit. Progress, at least for Piltover, is simply a means to the end of profit. The higher-ups of Piltover's social hierarchy, especially Mel, don't really care about progress at all. They care about money. They manipulate the people around them for their own personal gain. In this sense, Mel and Silco are clear foils, one representing the ideals of Topside and the other representing the ideals of the Undercity, but both representing a corrupt social hierarchy. So what does the Piltover social hierarchy and value structure have to do with this scene? Piltover treats its citizens, those from not only Zaun but from Piltover as well, as mere means to an end. The majority of the Piltover Council doesn't care about the people. They care about how they can use the people to make money. The people of Piltover and Zaun are not valuable in themselves. They are only valuable when they can be used, much like the disposable bullets of a gun. In this scene, Vi stands for Zaun and Caitlyn for Piltover. This conveys the idea that not even the members of high houses, as represented by Caitlyn, are safe from the corrupt social hierarchy and profit over anything value structure of Piltover. As soon as society decides that they will stop at nothing to get what they want, be it power or profit, they immediately devalue the people and use them as mere means to an end, rather than something to be valued in themselves. When we shine a light on something, we reveal something that was beforehand unknown. In other words, we reveal the truth of what something really is. That is exactly what these lights represent in this scene. We literally and figuratively shine a light into Silco's character. As we cut between the lights and Silco in a mad rage, we learn about the true nature of what Silco is. Silco is someone who wants to control others, and when he can't have that control, he loses everything. He loses his temper. And this scene specifically is so significant because this is the first time in all of Arcane where we get to see the true Silco. We get to see him lose his temper and battle with powerlessness. Then, as Silco regains his cool, the camera zooms out from him and the music slows. Note that the lights flash while Silco is in his rage. We have a light in which we can look into his character. But as the music slows and Silco regains his composure, the lights darken again. This facade of control and power that Silco presents himself to the world as is not what he really is. Then, another flash of lights as we cut to Vi. Much like the lights shining in Silco's scene revealing who he really is, the flash of lights into an immediate cut to Vi reveals who she really is. Vi is running through the streets when she bumps into someone and flips them off. Here, she is shown as disorganized, all over the place, willing to stop what she's doing to flip someone off and curse at them. And then she sees Powder's light. Immediately, she goes from disorganized and unstructured behavior to pure attentiveness, where Caitlyn, who followed behind her, has to break her free of the trance that she's in. Vi is focused on the light of her sister. This is who Vi really is. When there's no sign of light in the scene, Vi is disorganized, abrasive, and unstructured. But as Vi catches a glimpse of the light from Powder's flare, that light illuminates Vi's face and informs the viewers on who she really is. She isn't uncaring or abrasive like the front she puts up. In reality, she's someone who cares deeply for the people that she loves and will stop doing everything to put all her attention onto them. Then we get this scene of Caitlyn pulling Vi away and the camera is left behind to focus on Powder's flare. Vi's intent on the flare and the focus of the camera indicate that very soon Vi and Powder will meet, which raises the tension of the scene. Not to mention that the cuts between Vi and Silco show the differences between the two relationships that Powder has with them. Silco abuses Powder, uses her only for his needs, but as soon as those needs are met, or if she fails to be useful to him, Silco will discard her just like any of his underlings. Vi, on the other hand, is completely focused on Powder. She stops everything that she's doing. She doesn't care about the disturbances of the outside world. All that matters is their relationship. The difference being, Silco is one that treats Powder as a tool, and Vi is someone who treats Powder as a person. This whole sequence ends with Marcus standing on one of the bridges that connect Piltover and Zaun, with the light of authority behind him. Marcus stands for the authoritative government of Piltover, and it's also important to realize that Marcus is not the one being put in the light. He's the one controlling it. The light shines onto Zaun, placing all the blame of everything that has plagued Piltover onto Zaun. When Marcus, one of the many symbols of corruption in Arcane, is the one controlling the light, it shows that many in Piltover know that they are corrupt, but choose to reflect the blame on other people, in this case, on Zaun. All of this, the complex relationship dynamics between characters, the fight against trauma, and the discovery that one can be strong in the face of that trauma, the political, social, and value structure of a corrupt government, all of this conveyed, without words, in less than 2 minutes. This is what I mean when I say that Arcane is an incredibly dense show. There's so much meaning in every single shot, no matter how short it is. This scene is embedded into the minds of people, not just because the music timing is perfect, not just because it's great at carrying tension, not just because the framing and camera movement is excellent, but also because it represents a turning point for every single character that appears in it, and a turning point for the series as a whole.
It's your perfect day. Goodbye, because it's on fire. Tuck your innocence.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and praying to the algorithm gods that I get put on the algorithm. Make sure to share this video with people who you think would find it valuable. And if you want more content like this, I would consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification, because for the foreseeable future I'm going to be doing pretty much solely Arcane content, because oh my goodness, is this show so dense. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. So if you're in for that, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And if not, and you just enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.